Hey guys, it's Dustin. Welcome back to the channel. As always, thanks for hanging out with me. Today I got a great match, a very fun match for you guys. On the left is my good friend Marc Raphael. Some of you Midwest guys that show up to regionals around the area may recognize him. He's the old guy that likes to play the coin flip shenanigans just for fun because he's not a meta player. And on the right, you have me playing a dice roll deck. I decided to build this for fun because he wanted to play me for the channel. And so let's do this. I rolled a 2 and he rolled a 4. So he's going to opt to go first. Mark's going to opt to go first since he won the die roll. And he starts off by sending a couple cards to the back row, activating Dark Sanctuary, setting another one, and passing back to me. I draw for turn, and I summon Snipe Hunter. And he thinks for a second. And I decided if I want to activate Snipe Hunter's effect or not, but I don't. I end up attacking with Snipe Hunter for the heads. Oh yeah! Oh, 750. He flips heads with Dark Sanctuary to negate my attack and do half the attack in damage to my life points. He's a goofball. I activate 2 Dangerous Machine Type 6 and set a couple more cards to the back row before passing back. He decides that he is going to do nothing this turn and pass back to me. He just takes a little bit of time doing it. I draw. Standby phase, I activate the effect of the first Dangerous Machine Type 6, roll a 2, which makes my opponent discard a card. And he discards a Head Judging. I activate the second Dangerous Machine Type 6, roll a 6, which destroys itself. How sad. I go ahead and attack with Snipe Hunter again, and he flips for Dark Sanctuary, gets it right again, and does another 750 to me. Dark Sanctuary, he doesn't have to call the flip, it actually just has to be heads. He activates second Coin Toss, passes it back to me, I draw, standby phase, I roll 5, which destroys an opponent's monster, and he has none, so it does nothing. I activate the effect of Snipe Hunter to try to target one of his cards, and he activates Head Judging, which when I activate a monster effect, I have to flip a coin and call it, which I call Tails. And I flip Tails. And he goes for second Coin Toss, which I had to read and make sure he could do that, which he can, even though I'm the one flipping the coin. I call Tails again and flip Tails. So Head Judging does nothing. What it would have done is it would have negated the effect and would have let him snatch steal it, crack down it, whatever you want to call it. He tries to Veiler here, but he didn't realize that we were at resolution, so that was bad timing. The Dark Sanctuary I targeted is going to get destroyed by my Snipe Hunter since I rolled a 5. Head Judging's gone. I forgot to take care of that at first. It does get destroyed if it's unsuccessful. I attack directly with Snipe Hunter for 15 and pass back to Mark. He summons Effect Veiler and equips it with Moon Mirror Shield.
Battle? Yep. Attack?
Yeah! Yeah, that happened. So I take the 100. I draw for turn, roll for the Dangerous Machine, roll 5, which destroys an opponent's monster. Thank God, because that Effect Veiler was looking deadly. He compulsories here. He's supposed to compulsory it when I roll it before I roll the die. He didn't know that. I just let him have it. We're playing for fun anyway. Not a big deal. So he compulsories the Effect Veiler and puts the Moon Mirror Shield back on the bottom of his deck by paying 500 life points. So I go ahead and summon Roulette Barrel, which I explained to him what it does. It allows me to roll a 6-sided die twice and pick one of the results and destroy a monster with a level equal to the result that I picked, which I'm obviously not doing right now. I just attack for 1,000 and pass back. He draws, sets a card, and passes back to me. I draw, standby phase, roll for Dangerous Machine, which I roll a 3, which allows me to draw a card. It's probably my favorite thing to roll on that card. I attack directly with Roulette Barrel and pass back to Mark. He draws and sets and passes back. I draw, standby phase. I roll a 1, which makes me discard a card. I have 3 Effect Veilers in my hand right now, so I'm okay with discarding one of them. Not a huge deal. Check my cards. Get in for another 1,000. He takes it. He draws for turn. Activates Pot of Duality. He flips over Fairy Box, Effect Veiler, and Pot of Duality. After thinking for a second, he grabs the Fairy Box. I didn't notice this at the time, but it doesn't look like he sets the Fairy Box, he just leaves it in his hand. So, I'm not sure why, but maybe he already had one down. He passes back to me. Standby phase. I roll a 4, which lets my opponent draw a card. He's definitely okay with that. I summon Snipe Hunter. Discard a card to target his card, and he activates Head Judging. So I flip his coin. I call heads. But I flip tails, so he gets to take it. Also, Head Judging stays around like a Crackdown. I activate Roulette Barrel's effect, and he Breakthrough skills. So I switch it to defense. Anyway, Head Judging stays around if it's successful, and it's a once per turn effect, so if it's still there, he can do it again. Which I'm about to find out here in a second. He activates Snipe Hunter, discards Fairy Box to target my Roulette Barrel, and I Effect Veiler. It's the only thing keeping me in the game right now. I mean, I'm not too low in life, but I don't have much else. So he sets a card to the back row and passes back to me. Standby phase, I roll for Dangerous Machine, another 4, so he gets to draw another card. Ugh. I go to activate Roulette Barrel, and I can't believe that he can do this again. I read it.
Get some!
Is that the demise?
Where's your
ritual?
stupid coin? Heads.
Is it?
Oh, sad.
It is the demise ritual.
Love you. Second coin.
Yeah. I flip up Blind Obliteration, which lets me roll 2 dice and destroy all monsters on the field with a level less than the total result. But you know what? When you roll a 3 and there's only level 4 monsters on the field, it doesn't do you much good. It's a really good board wipe card in theory, but when you just roll absolute garbage, it's not really going to do you any good. I set a card and a monster and pass back to Mark. Mark activates Reinforcement of the Army. He's going to search his deck for Sasuke Samurai number 4, which is a card that I got him to start playing years ago. It's one of his favorite cards. I love the card. I'm happy that he still plays it to this day. He's been playing coin flip shenanigans for years. He thinks for a second. He activates the effect of Snipe Hunter, discarding Warrior, returning alive. I think he targets my monster, but I effect Veiler anyway. Still don't want him to pick off my cards. I draw for turn. Standby phase. I roll for Dangerous Machine. And I roll a 2, which makes my opponent discard a card. Good. At least one of those 4s was negated. He discards Breakthrough Skill, and I activate Pot of Extravagance in the main phase. He doesn't care to cut, he just says pick 6, so I just shuffle and pick the top 6. I draw 2. By the way, I'd like to point out how awesome it is that this Dangerous Machine Type 6 stuck around for as long as it did. I set a monster in a back row and pass. And I activate Blind Obliteration in the draw phase to try and wipe the board before he can Snipe Hunter. But, oh, look at that! I rolled another 3. Man, I was super salty about that. There's no reason I should have rolled 3 twice on that card. Oh my gosh. So he activates Snipe Hunter's effect. Targets my monster. He thinks for a second what to discard. Ends up discarding Compulsory. And he rolls a 4, which is a Shadow Knight Archfiend. Not a great card, but I needed a beater that had to do with dice rolls, so that's why it's in there. He passes back to me, I draw. Standby phase, I roll a 3, so I can draw a card. Love it. I had to read Pot of Extravagance carefully right here because I wanted to make sure that it didn't conflict with drawing in the standby phase. It only counts for cards after Pot of Extravagance, so I can draw before Pot of Extravagance and still be good. So I banish 6, draw 2 more cards. I set 1 to each. Pass back to Mark. He summons Sasuke Samurai number 4. He goes to battle phase, attacks my monster, calls tails, flips heads, so he decides to second coin toss, calls tails again, gets heads again. Flips up my Night Assailant. I am so glad that went off. He had a 75% chance of killing that without flipping it. So I destroy his Sasuke Samurai number 4 with Night Assailant. The reason I play Night Assailant in this deck is because I can discard it with Snipe Hunter to get back Dice Jar. It's literally the only reason. He goes ahead and attacks my face down with Snipe Hunter. And I activate Dice Reroll in response to the attack because he's about to attack my Dice Jar, and if I roll something bad, I need to be able to recover. The Dice Reroll is optional. We both roll. I roll a 4 and he rolls a 1, so at this moment he would potentially take 2,000 damage. But I'm deciding if I want to get greedy and try for the 6. I think about it for a little while.
Come on,
that
it
stuff.
negates only your roll, so
You don't want Daddy to take you to f***ing woodshed again, do you?
And he decided to taunt me. God, I love Mark. He's hilarious. I decide to not re-roll and let him take the 2,000. I know if I get greedy, I'm gonna regret it. He passes back to me. During a standby phase, I roll a 1, which makes me discard a card, which is perfect because I discard a monster. Not that I couldn't set it anyway, but I set a card, pass, then in the draw phase, I activate Fire Darts. I have to have no cards in my hand to activate it. It lets me roll a die 3 times, and he jokingly tries to effect mailer it just to be funny. Roll a die 3 times, it does 100 damage to my opponent times the total result. That 12 does it, but I'm like, hey, I have to resolve the full effect, just to be funny. And I end up rolling a total of 14, so that will end the game. I show him the second one, just in case. We're gonna go on to game 2. Man, that was fun. Game 2. Mark's gonna opt to go first since I won the first game. He starts off with terraforming to go grab Dark Sanctuary. Eventually. There it is. Goes ahead and activates it. Dark Sanctuary does a few other things besides negate my attack on a coin flip, but that is literally the only thing he does with it. So it's not very important otherwise. He activates Pot of Duality, reveals Head Judging, the Warrior Returning Alive, and Fairy Box. And he grabs Head Judging, of course. Mark loves Warrior Returning Alive. He likes to make sure the Sasuke Samurai sticks around whenever possible. He sets a couple cards face down and passes to me. I draw a card. I activate Pot of Extravagance. I go ahead and just banish the top 6. He doesn't care. I don't care. My extra deck's really not even important anyway. I draw 2 cards. I activate Summon Dice, which makes me pay 1,000. If I roll 1 or 2, I get an extra normal summon. If I get a 3 or 4, which I get a 4, I can special summon a monster from my graveyard, which obviously doesn't do anything. If I roll a 5 or 6, I can special summon a monster from my hand. So after that flop, I summon Roulette Barrel and declare an attack, and he goes for Dark Sanctuary and flips tails, so the attack is successful. Then I set a card and pass to Mark. He summons Sasuke Samurai number 4 and equips it with Moon Mirror Shield. He goes to attack, and I activate Roulette Spider. And I roll a 1. And the 1 has my life points. Fantastic. After I bury my face in my hands and start laughing at how ridiculous that was, he presses the attack, calls tails, and flips heads. So it becomes a regular attack and does 600 damage to me because it becomes 2,000 attack plus 100 because my defense was higher at 2,000. I activate another Summon Dice, putting me down to 14. I end up rolling a 2, which lets me extra normal summon. Not the most exciting effect, but I go ahead and summon Snipe Hunter. And I discard Orgoth to target the Sasuke, and he chains Head Judging. I call heads and flip heads. So Head Judging is unsuccessful. And I go to roll for Snipe Hunter, which I roll a 6. Swing and a miss. Hang on, let's try that again. Discarding Night Assailant. Roll a 1. Fantastic. Let's discard Needle Wall. Try again. Hey, look, another 6. Yep, I scoop that up. I'm definitely going to die next turn. If not, I've just exhausted all my resources. So let's scoop it up and go to game 3. Here we go. Game 3 in this exciting match. This is some of the funnest Yu-Gi-Oh! I've ever played in my life. I start off with Pot of Extravagance. Banish my 6, draw 2. I set a card to the monster zone and 2 to the back row and pass back to Mark. He draws for turn. After thinking for a bit, he sets a card, activates Terraforming to go for that good old Dark Sanctuary action. Summons that good old Sasuke number 4 with a Moon Mirror Shield. And he declares an attack, and I activate Roulette Spider. I end up rolling a 3, which chooses a monster I control to switch the attack target to, so it does absolutely nothing for me. I activate Dice Foon at Resolution, and I roll 5, which allows me to destroy 2 Speller Traps on the field. And it's not up to 2, it's 2. So I target is face down and his Moon Mirror Shield. Hit the Fairy Box. He pays 500 life points to put the Moon Mirror Shield on the bottom of his deck. He calls heads, flips heads, so destroys my Roulette Barrel. So he was going to destroy my Roulette Barrel either way. He passes. I activate another Pot of Extravagance. So I banish my 6, draw 2 more cards. And I summon Snipe Hunter. And he Book Moons on summon. I activate Dangerous Machine type 6 and set a card and pass back. He goes to declare an attack and I Roulette Spider because we're having fun. I roll a 4, which chooses an opponent's other monster to switch the attack target to. So again, does absolutely nothing. Calls tails, flips heads, which doesn't matter. Snipe Hunter's defense is 600, so he's going to kill it no matter what. Sets a card, passes back. I roll in the standby phase. And I roll a 1, which makes me discard a card. I end up discarding Dice, which, by the way, terrible card. I ended up taking it out after this match because it's so bad. I hate it. Summon Snipe Hunter, discard Effect Veiler. Go for the Sasuke. I hit a 3 this time. I go to attack and he activates Dark Sanctuary. And hits tails. So the attack is successful. He draws for turn. Warrior returning alive. Brings back the Sasuke. And goes for my Snipe Hunter.
75.
Oh, baby, I love it. I love how enthusiastic he gets when he gets that right. It's so funny. Standby phase, I roll a 6, so it destroys itself. End up setting a card, passing back. Goes and declares an attack directly. Doesn't have to flip for that. Hits me for 12. I activate Summon Dice. So I pay him 1,000. And I roll a 3, which lets me special summon from my graveyard. That is literally the only thing I could hit. That or a 4. So I bring back Roulette Barrel. I activate the effect of Roulette Barrel, and he thinks for a second. And he ends up Book-a-Mooning his own monster, in case I roll a 4. But I roll 2 2s. I don't know what's with me and rolling low numbers today. It's great. Good thing is, if I would have rolled a 4, it would have killed myself. Flip summon Sasuke. Goes to attack. Calls Tails. Flips Tails. I drop turn. Summon Shadow Knight Archfiend. 2,000 beater. He flips Fairy Box. He's going to have to use Dark Sanctuary. Gets heads, so my attack's negated, and I take half the attack to my life points. So I take 1,000. Standby phase, he pays 500 to keep Fairy Box alive. I heard that's a meme now. Goes to attack with Sasuke, calls heads, flips tails. So he crashes into Shadow Knight, which he would normally take 800, but since the damage inflicted to him is halved by Shadow Knight Archfiend, he only takes 400. Passes back to me. Standby phase, Shadow Knight Archfiend makes me pay 900 life points to keep it on the field. I go to declare an attack. He misses the Dark Sanctuary with Tails and Fairy Box. He calls heads and flips Tails. So my attack gets to go through for a clean 1,000. Standby phase pays 500 for the Fairy Box. And it just passes. I draw turn, pay my 900. I go battle phase. Flips heads for Dark Sanctuary, so I take another 1,000. He draws for turn, pays his 500 for Fairy Box. He sets a card, passes back to me. I pay my 900. I am dangerously low, down to 1,100, but just enough to pay 1,000 for Summon Dice. And I roll a 3, which special summons from the graveyard. And here's where things are about to get interesting.
Ready for this?
Yeah.
Tribute summon Orgoth the Relentless!
Oh my god!
Sounds like we're having a great time. So, I explained to him what Orgoth does. Basically allows me to roll 3 dice, and if I get 2 of the same result, I get to apply one of the effects. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, 6 effect. But if I roll all 3 of the same, I get all 3 effects. First off, he gains 100 attack for the total result that I roll. He activates Head Judging in response to my effect. I call Tails and flip Tails. Pretty excited about that. I roll a 4, a 3, and a 3, and since I got 2 3s, the 3 and 4 effect is I get to draw 2 cards. It's probably the best thing I could have asked for. He also gains 1,000 attack. I don't attack because of Dark Sanctuary would kill me. End phase, he compulsories. That wasn't very nice, Mark. Standby phase, he pays 500 for his fairy box. He activates second coin toss. Passes back. If I try to attack, Dark Sanctuary will kill me. Standby phase, he has to pay for Fairy Box. He gets ahead of himself and he summons Time Wizard. Man. How's that for a potential game ender? I definitely Effect Veiler that. As silly as that is. I'm not trying to lose to Time Wizard. He compulses my monster. And I have the Roulette Spider to respond to the attack with. So I have to roll a 5 or a 6 here. And just to make sure, I flip up a dice reroll. 5 is a magic cylinder, 6 is a Sakretsu armor. Just to shorten it up for you. 4 does nothing. So I have to reroll. And look at that miracle. Rolled a 6. Destroys the Time Wizard. Can't believe I'm saying those words in 2021. I draw. Set 1 to each. He goes and summons Sasuke number 4. Got ahead of himself again. He has to pay for Fairy Box. Goes to attack. Calls heads. Flips heads. Just destroys the roulette barrel. Alright. Here's where things get crazy. This is the position I'm in. I flip up Level Conversion Lab, which makes me reveal a monster in my hand. If I roll a 1, I send it to the graveyard. If I roll anything else, its level becomes the level I roll. So Orgoth becomes a level 3, and I summon it. And I go to activate the effect. And he Veilers. He's not going to let me do that again. Sad panda. Draws for turn. Pays for the Fairy Box. Remember what I said about potential game enders? Wouldn't you know it? Mark top decks. The almighty Time Wizard. Goes to activate the effect. And here's a last little bit of dialogue.
Heads. Second coin toss. Heads. Why? Can you swing for a game? That's it.
Oh my god. It all came down to a Time Wizard at 100 life points. Man, that was the most fun I've had playing Yu-Gi-Oh! In a long time, and I'm so glad we could get this match recorded for you guys. That was so good. And I had a blast. I had an absolute blast. Mark had a blast. Mark, thanks for playing. I appreciate it. And that is it, guys. We will see you in the next video.